Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Well, Tony, there was only like 7 seconds into the show or so before I remembered, I should put the microphone on. So now I'm great. Earlier, not as prepared. Now, It's we're to live in the moment, Tony. We're not here to talk about the past.
You put the professional in professional, just so you know.
The fess and professional, yes.
So we were here at interviews with the 7 captains here at Ohio State tonight, and the one thing that I left with is the only thing that I tweeted from this. And it's not the only thing I took from this.
There was a lot that was interesting,
yes.
But the thing that you tweeted from this that I looked over at you and said, well, going to have to do a show on that before we leave.
And here we are, we're doing a show on it. And that was, Jeremiah Smith was asked about Legend Bey losing his black stripe and what does that mean for the offense. And he said it's big for the offense. And then he recounted a story of I was talking to Luke Montgomery back in the spring. And I told Luke that before Legend Bey leaves Ohio State, he's either going to win the Heisman or be a finalist. And either one of those, a very nice accomplishment for anybody, but especially at Ohio State, it's hard to say, you're going to win the Heisman because there have been so many finalists, and you know how hard it is to win the Heisman. But what a statement from a guy who very well could be the Heisman winner or a finalist this year, the best receiver in Ohio State history, saying, this guy is doing some things that people don't realize yet, but they will.
Well, this is a little bit of a takes one to know one, brackets complimentary, as opposed to the usual way that's used, where, I think a lot of us in Jeremiah Smith's true freshman season were saying, so, get ready to speak Times Square, buddy. And you've seen what that looks like then. And he has been, I think he was a finalist 2 years ago, right?
I was thinking so.
I think he was a finalist as a true freshman and was 5th place last year. But either way, obviously close enough to that conversation to be aware of what it takes to get into that conversation. That's the stuff that is really, we get, there's different tiers of how meaningful all this stuff is. And it's, if I ask you specifically about this player, tell me about this player, and you're going to tell me that he's a great guy and he works really hard and he's putting in a lot of work and he's really studying hard and everyone likes him and, his breath smells great and whatever. When you ask me tell me about a guy from subgroup, freshman class, wide receiver room, who's surprised you, and you tell me something and you name a name, that's more meaningful to me. Because if I ask you about a specific guy, you're not going to be like, that guy stinks. No one since Denzel Burke, and even before Denzel Burke, there weren't many that would be real straightforward with you. If you get named in a group like that, okay, that's okay. If you're talking to teammates about that away from us, and then later feel so confident about that 6 months later that you're sharing this as an amusing anecdote with us, and you're someone who has been there and done that and knows what it takes to get there, that's when you're okay, that is the highest tier of teammate to teammate compliment.
And Jeremiah also saw Julian Sayin be a Heisman finalist. And it's completely different. It's like you said, if somebody were to ask, Jeremiah, do you think Legend Bey could win the Heisman one day or be a finalist? Of course. But then when it's volunteered forward like that is interesting. We've talked about the expectations for him this year. Got the slow start in fall camp. Ends up losing his black stripe in the past week. That's a very good sign that he is in the good graces. Because, again, you lose your black stripe, you are a Buckeye. And nobody that is wishy-washy on, they're he's... we've seen guys that don't lose it until their redshirt freshman year. A guy named Joe Burrow, famously not very good, but
never did much at Ohio State, did he?
We don't need to relitigate the past, but losing the black stripe, getting back into good graces, and everybody celebrates it when it happens. And we said, back in March, how many touches, 5 to 8, something like that. As a true freshman, that's what they want to get him involved in. Special teams, pass catching, running the ball. Nothing I've heard since lends me to believe that's still not the plan. The biggest question has always been how. How do you get those many touches? It's never been I don't think he's good enough.
Right. It has been away from the field stuff, that you missed the first 2 practices of the fall for disciplinary reasons. And this was not like a crime or anything. This is just like silly freshman stuff. But silly freshman stuff that's one of the reasons that freshmen don't play.
Right.
The fact that he lost his black stripe is a pretty good indication that he has learned the lesson from the silly freshman stuff and has not repeated that mistake and has been doing what he needs to do. We were being told by people relatively high up in the program, glowing things about him, even before spring ball. Yeah. Glowing things about him. And then he showed up for spring ball. You had the high expectations. Everyone's excited. And then he just tweaks his hamstring. It's nothing major, but it's just enough to keep him off the field. And then right before fall practice, a silly mistake. Nothing major, but just enough to keep him off the field for the first couple days of fall practice. So it was kind of like, all right, it doesn't take that much. There's lots of ways for a talented freshman to not get on the field. It feels like he's leaving a lot of that stuff behind, right. And now he's back in, sort of on track to get on the field early. And, 5 to 8 touches a game, that, as you said, that's a lot, because you're a running back. You're gonna get, but you've got Bo Jackson, you've got Isaiah West. You're not the only guy who's going to get carries. Jacoby Jackson probably going to get some carries. So you might give him a couple in the run game. You throw him the ball once or twice. Do you trust him in the kick game? Do you trust him to go back and return kicks and punts?
I'm wondering, kickoffs for certain. I wonder, because they have given him some shot at punt returner. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if part of this black stripe is because he's done so well in terms of protecting the ball and that aspect as well.
You have to check all the boxes.
Right.
You can't be like, his grades are really good, but he's putting the ball on the ground in practice. Right. But the grades, black stripe, you got to check all the boxes.
He's trying not to fumble.
Right. Yeah.
He's working really hard on not fumbling, and he keeps fumbling.
He looks really disappointed when he puts the ball in. Right. That does not fly.
He takes the lap full speed.
Yeah. No, you've got to be doing everything right, because like you said, there are plenty of guys who turn out to be perfectly good players at Ohio State who don't lose their black stripe until October of their freshman year, spring following their freshman year. Plenty of guys who end up being contributors, regular starters here. This is not something that it's like, everybody gets a trophy, everybody loses their black stripe before the first game. No. If you get it off before the first game, you are earning that.
Yeah, and that's why it's going to be fascinating to see who all plays against Texas. And as we said, that's when you will know how the coaches feel about those players and how much they trust them on the road there. So what would a Heisman finalist season look like for Legend Bey? Because I'm thinking like a Curtis Samuel, but not more running than catching. Because Curtis Samuel had 70 catches for 800 yards. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's the case we'll see with Legend Bey. But as you know, there's also going to be some special teams in there. But is this an overall? Does he have to rush for 1,000 yards? Does it have to be 1,200 or 1,300 yards? Or is this such an encompassing, lightning kind of big plays everywhere? He is dangerous, like a Devin Hester.
Yeah.
He's the best player on the field, whether the numbers are there or not.
It's probably a highlight reel driven thing, because he's not right now someone who you look at and you go, that guy can take 23 carries a game in the Big Ten. He's not going to be able to do that. So you got to work around that a little bit. And so that's probably, and we're not talking about this year. This is not a 2026 Heisman finalist Legend Bey. This is 2027, 2028, whatever it is. 8 carries and 5 catches and a couple punt returns and a couple kick returns, and then you're putting out stats that are, 2,300 total yards and 17 touchdowns accounted for in 4 different ways, and then he throws the ball too, and then and you get
when you're pumping him for that Heisman.
You get the Eric Crouch Memorial. Look, our quarterback caught a touchdown pass. It's on the other way. It's look, our running back threw a touchdown pass. Isn't that wild? And if he can kick, we'll find out. He'll kick extra point, whatever. that's the kind of stuff you're going to have to do, because it's not going to just be a sheer numbers case where it's, like J.K. Dobbins, where it's like, well, he ran for 2,000 yards. Like, it's probably not going to happen that way. You're going to have to do it in a little bit of a different shape.
So there you go. Congratulations to Legend Bey, future Heisman finalist at the very least.
Put a year on it, Tony. Coward.
Well, I would say 2028. Or, there's 2029, there's 2030. We can go on and on.
I would imagine the number of players who are projected as true freshmen, as Heisman finalists by other Heisman finalists in their true freshman season, the overlap between that and 5-year players, probably not extremely high, but, maybe. I don't know.
No, and remember, Jeremiah Smith said this back in the spring. Like, we didn't get to see a lot of Legend Bey. They saw enough. He saw enough to be like, this guy. So there you go. Some thoughts on Legend Bey, and mainly some thoughts on what Jeremiah Smith thinks of him. What do you guys think? Throw it in the comments, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and of course we are talking about this, believe me, over on the Buckeye Insiders message board. You can find us at buckeyeinsiders.com. Would love to see you there. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.